This is a podcast about networking. Networking is the ability to communicate and establish relationships to help you and others progress in their future endeavors. In light of the world changing right in front of our eyes, it's very important, now more than ever, to learn and master the skill of networking. It used to just be about physical networking, but with social media now being a part of our daily lives, the ability to share dialogue has shifted from face to face to screen to screen. Today, more people are becoming more social on social media and missing the tools of how to be social in real life. In order to establish your network, you have to learn how to communicate both on and off the screen. Creating and maintaining your network is the key to unlocking your potential within yourself and opens the door to the endless possibilities of a successful future. This podcast teaches you how to establish your network and how to maintain relationships on and off your screen. Hey, nice to meet you. The Networking Podcast, hosted by Desiree Jones. It's a pleasure to meet you. Talk soon. Hey, nice to meet you. Welcome to the Networking Podcast, the podcast that teaches you how to communicate and establish relationships both on and off your screen. My name is Desiree Jones, or Des for short, and happy Black History Month. We are in the mix. I'm wearing my sorority scarf. I'm a Zeta, so I'm in the Rho Alpha chapter, and this year we're turning 75. So I was like, I might as well just go ahead and put on the scarf. Represent it's Black History Month. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is a Black Greek organization. We love just impact, and we are so supportive of all the other Greeks. So congratulations to SG Rho. Y'all are turning 100 this year. Congratulations to y'all. So shout out to all the Greeks. Happy Black History Month. So we all are black. It's black and black and black in this podcast episode. You hear me? Yeah. But anyway, so the topic for today is, hey, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Because when it comes to networking, you can't network without having a conversation, right? So starting a conversation can be a bit nerve-wracking. However, the sole purpose of a conversation is to establish interactive dialogue, formal or informal, with someone. The goal is to have intentional conversation, and what you say can dictate how the conversation will go. That's the topic of the day. But before we get into the topic, let's get into the book of the day. So reading is fundamental, and it's very important to continue to make it a habit. If you prefer audiobooks, that's fine, but something about the touch of a book and the flip of a page just brings solitude to the mind. So with that, today's book I'd like to shout out is It's About Damn Time by Arlan Hamilton. How to turn being underestimated into your greatest advantage. Yes, this is the book that I got when I was a venture capital fellow, class 4 Dior. And HBCU VC is a fellowship geared toward helping minority HBCU students and alumni learn more about venture capital. So Arlan Hamilton is the founder and managing partner of Backstage Capital, a venture capital firm dedicated to minimizing funding disparities in tech by investing in high potential founders who are people of color, women, or LGBTQ. So this is Black History Month, and Arlan Hamilton is Black History. And when I got this book, not only did I get the book, I got an autograph. It says, "Be the money." I actually put this out on Twitter, and she retweeted it, and it low-key went viral. So if you're seeing this is me. You know, you're more than welcome to come on the podcast. Just putting that out there if you see this. So, you know, we're kind of awesome. So just put in, we're going to manifest it, you know what I mean? But anyway, so this book, It's About Damn Time. I read the full book probably in like under 2 days, because it talks about very, very important things, especially as a person of color, especially as a female. You know, her story is so impactful, and she used to be homeless. Like it says even here in 2015, she was on food stamps and sleeping on the floor in San Francisco with nothing but an old laptop and a dream of breaking into venture capital business. So she did it. She had a dream, and she did it. She followed her dream. She followed her passion. And regardless of what people thought about her, how they perceived her, she still pursued. And that is the essence of what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a woman of color, LGBTQ, just trusting yourself and knowing yourself, even when the obstacles and everything is against you. She still pushed forward. And Black History Month is just 1 month, even though, Black History Month is every month. But I just want to acknowledge Arlan Hamilton, because she was a non-celebrity, she's a non-celebrity and she's doing the damn thing. So it's about damn time we give her recognition, we give her flowers. So I'm here to do that. So thank you, Arlan Hamilton. So now let's go ahead and get into today's topic. So today's topic, hey, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? So I also want to advise you to write this down. Write down everything I'm letting you guys know, because again, in the last episode, we talked about the importance of writing, and it helps you learn, earn, and remember. So if you really want to do better with networking, go ahead and take some notes. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and get started. So when starting a conversation, think of the conversation you want to have in 3 sections. This is how I think about it. So the first thing is your introduction, kind of like your elevator pitch. Everyone knows what an elevator pitch is. It's pretty much giving you 30 seconds to describe who you are, what you do, and what it is that represents who you are. So number 1 is your introduction. Number 2 is your compliment or compassionate statement. So providing some type of compliment or some type of compassion. And then number 3 is your intention of talking. So I broke it down into 3 sections because you want to make sure there's a beginning, middle, and an end to a conversation. Because when you're networking, especially when connecting with people for the very first time, you don't want to just start talking and rambling on forever. You want to keep it short and sweet. So this is broken down to help guide the conversation that you may have in the future. So when someone you don't know approaches you or contacts you, wouldn't you want to know who they are? I know I do. So this is why introducing yourself is very important. When introducing yourself, start by saying hello and state your name. Then after stating your name, give 2 to 3 facts about who you are and what you do, right? So the introduction is like the appetizer of your conversation. Or when someone says, so tell me a little bit about yourself, that's what they mean. That is the introduction. So if you're a student, let the person you're talking to know about, let them know you're a student as well as the school you attend. If you're no longer in school, talk about your occupation or what brings you to the location, event, or, somebody's DMs, etc. Because when you're having a conversation, it depends on where you're having a conversation. So you can also have a conversation via DMs. So for instance, introduction from me. I'm Desiree Jones, or Des for short. I'm a recent grad from Hampton University with my BS in marketing, Bachelor's of Science. I'm passionate about content strategy, video editing, and I have my own podcast that talks about the fundamentals of networking. Now, when you listen to my introduction, there were a lot of things I mentioned, right? I mentioned a lot because as a listener, it gives you an overall scope of who I am, and it gives you, the listener, different things about me that you could retain and remember about me. So anytime you talk to someone, always state your name and what you do, always. Because if you don't, the conversation you have may not be remembered long term. Your name holds weight. It holds weight. And when you connect with someone, you don't want them to be like, dang, I forgot their name. Who are you again? Sidebar, if you don't know who you are, I talk about self-identity in another episode, so check that out. I believe it's episode 2. Hey, who are you? Self-identity. Now, that's the introduction. Introduction is introducing yourself. Make sure you have your name. Make sure you have information, 2 to 3 facts about what you do, who you are, what school you go to, what's your occupation. Does that make sense? That's your introduction. Number 2, compliment or something of gratitude or compassion. So after introducing yourself, providing a compliment or a sense of compassion is so important, because when you're meeting someone new, sometimes the person you're reaching out to may also be nervous. And providing a compliment or compassionate statement about them can bring that nervous tension, a little bit down. It can break the ice before getting to the intention of why you're talking to them. So a compliment or a compassionate thing you could say could be anything. So for instance, I said my introduction, thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I hope you're enjoying your day. If there's a holiday during the time you're connecting with them, you could also be like, happy holidays. Hope your family is well. If you're at a conference and they're a speaker, then you can just thank them for speaking, thank them for the wisdom that they had, any type of compliment that showcases that you care. So for instance, for me, I'm Desiree Jones. So we're going to use the same example. I'm Desiree Jones, recent grad from Hampton University with my BS in marketing. I'm passionate about content strategy, video editing, and I have my own podcast that talks about the fundamentals of networking. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. Listening to your story really encouraged me to keep going. So showing gratitude or providing a compliment shows that you care. A compliment or a token of gratitude always helps the conversation flow because it provides the person you're talking to with a sense of feeling appreciated. And appreciation goes a very long way. So when starting a conversation, first, have an introduction. Second, provide a compliment or a sense of compassion. And then third, this is when you talk about your intention of talking. So by this point, if you've introduced yourself and said a compliment, the person you're talking to should open up a little bit to the next portion of what it is you have to say. Now, what is it that you want to say? That isn't something that can be taught. That's just something that comes from within. So this is where you say whatever it is that you like to ask. And this is what you talk about. So we're going to go back to my example. I'm Desiree Jones. I'm a recent grad from Hampton University with my BS in marketing. I'm passionate about content strategy, video editing, and I have my own podcast that talks about the fundamentals of networking. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story, and listening to your story encouraged me to keep going. I had a quick question about blah, 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 or you mentioned blah, 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 or I'd like to know more about blah, 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 blah. You see what I mean? So the intention of talking is the entry or the entryway. It's like the entryway, but it's like the entree to the conversation. So you got the appetizer, which is like the introduction and the compliment, and the entree to the conversation is your intention of talking. So what you decide to talk about depends on what it is that you want to know from them. So again, when thinking about what it is that you want to talk about, remember to have these three things ready. Ready? Your introduction, a compliment or a sense of compassion, and an intention of talking. Those are this is like a little mini format that can help you with starting a conversation and leading into the conversation with somebody, whether that be getting to know them more. It can be for anything, honestly. So having an introduction, providing some type of compliment or mentioning, a level of appreciation, and then your intention of talking. So now let's get into a segment I'd like to call Then It All Went Left. Yes. So this is a segment where I talk about a situation that went totally terrible, but led to the right path, right? So what happened? Well, listen here. Funny story. A few years ago, I went to a summit. I think it was like the Black Love Summit, and I got a chance to meet Erica Campbell. So if you don't know who Erica Campbell is a gospel singer that was in a group with her sister, Mary. Shackles on my feet so I can dance. Yeah, Mary, if you don't know who Mary is, man, phenomenal Christian group. We were all in line to meet her, and when I got a chance to meet her in person, I choked up and had a huge wave of emotion just pour out of me. So I started crying. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. I started crying a little bit, but then I caught my composure and, all I said was just, thank you. And then I scurried away. So I'll give you like literally how it went. So I went up to her and I was like, Thank you. I'm so appreciative. Thank you for all that you've done. And then I just ran away. So she probably thought I was kind of crazy. Uh, but growing up, I used to listen to Mary on repeat. So seeing her for the first time really like threw me off my square. Like, this is my first time meeting her and listening to her like music for like all my childhood. So I was nervous. It just shook, but I forgot that I existed in that moment. So what did I learn from this? Well, I learned that my emotion can get the best of me, and I needed to control them better. I need to control my emotions. I also learned that I needed to have something prepared rather than just wing it, because I had no idea my emotions were going to get that out of hand. So if I was prepared, I would have focused on what I had to say and not just draw a blank, So I cried in front of Mary. I cried in front of Erica Campbell, but I know now that if I were to meet her again, I know what to say. I know what to say. But that was just a really interesting, funny moment, and I never thought that I was gonna like cry in her presence. But I guess that might have been the spirit, like the Holy Spirit or something. I don't know, because that woman is anointed. So we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, so that was my then it all went left story. And I encourage anyone who sees a celebrity or is talking to anybody that might throw them off their square, have something ready, so that way they won't think you're weird. Cool, great. So now let's get into the 100 commandments of confidence. Whoop, whoop. So I do the 100 commandments of confidence because when it comes to networking, it's important to be confident in who you are and be confident in like yourself. Like, just have the confidence to just be like, you know what? I'm gonna talk to this person. I'm gonna be all right. So I did this like TikTok series that I used to do, and it was called like 100 Commandments of Confidence, and I was just saying different things because people needed advice on confidence, and I'm an extremely confident person. So I was like, you know what, let me just add it to the podcast. So here we are, 100 Commandments of Confidence. So this week's 100 Commandments of Confidence is, you ready? Thou shalt be mindful of who you take advice from. Confidence is knowing that while feedback is great, not all feedback is great feedback. So having the discernment to decipher what feedback to receive shows how confident you are in yourself to either accept or reject the feedback that someone tells you. Now, I say this because there are times during my life, and even now, feedback in general is important. And I do encourage feedback, especially when you're not really sure about, certain things in your life. Having people just kind of gauging where you are, it's great. But at the same time, when someone gives me feedback, I usually filter out the things that I know I already kind of know. It might seem kind of arrogant, but it's just like sometimes some people, depending on the person, like people give feedback based off of their experience. And not everyone's experience is the same. And sometimes when it comes to feedback, it might not be as relatable to the journey, but some parts of it is. So that's why I say, be mindful of who you take advice from, because just because they give you advice doesn't mean it's always the best advice. But that doesn't mean you need to just throw it away altogether. Now, sometimes you do need to throw it away, especially if you didn't ask for advice, because some people love to just project stuff. So just being mindful of what's the best advice to take, and being mindful of the advice that you are given and how that can be correlated to your next level or your progression in life or your success overall. So that is my 100 commandment of confidence. Thou shalt be mindful of who you take advice from. Okay. So now we're going to get into the last thing, follow-up hack. So I provide a follow-up hack because, again, networking is all about having conversation. But then after you have the conversation, you got to follow back up. You got to. So This is a follow-up hack, and I do this in every episode because it's always important to follow up. So the more follow-up hacks I can give, hopefully the more times people are able to follow up and actually apply the follow-up hack to whatever it is they plan on doing. So this follow-up hack, when you're sending an email or talking to a professional, remember to have the following, okay? A greeting with the name, a thank you at the end, your name or tagline at the bottom that has all the information connected to it, and then remember to keep it short and to the point. Okay? So when you're sending an email or talking to a professional, have a greeting with the name, following by a thank you at the end, and then making sure you have your contact information at the bottom of the email address or some type of reference they can go to. Of course, when you email them, the goal is to reply back. But sometimes if it's like a cold email or something, they might check into what it is that you do. You have a website, like you have a social media, you have Instagram, that's also important. And then of course, keeping it short and to the point, because at this point, everybody got emails and not everybody wants to read, a 40 paragraph email about your life. Sometimes it works. Some people have the time, but in this day and age, not everybody got the time. So follow up hack, send an email, keep it short, keep it simple. Remember to thank them, and don't forget to have contact information so they can look at whatever else you got going on, especially if it's like for an application or something. Make sure you have all the information so they can reach back out to you or call you or email you somewhere else, anything like that. Email you on your business page, anything like that. So that is a follow-up hack for today. And that is it. So again, this episode is called, Hey, what are we talking about? Because it's important to have a great format of how to have the conversation when you meet the person you want to have a conversation with, right? Okay, because you can network. It's great to network, but you can't have a network without having conversation. So again, my name is Desiree Jones, or Des for short. Follow me at The Book of Des on TikTok, at The Book of Des on Instagram, at The Book of Des on Twitter, and LinkedIn. I believe it's just Desiree Jones Video Creative. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this networking podcast. And if you have any questions, at me at The Book of Des. Still setting up the website. Hadn't really done that yet, but it's coming. It's coming. So I'll be sure to let y'all know when the podcast website is launched. But thank y'all again for listening, and I hope this conversation that I had with you can help you have conversation with whoever it is you aspire to talk to. So enjoy the rest of your day and shine bright. Bye.